Some nights feel longer than the sky itself. In a quiet monastery on the hill, a young novice tried to keep one small lantern burning, believing that as long as its light stayed alive, his fears would stay asleep. His name was Lin. He was new to monastery life, soft-spoken, careful with his steps, and careful with his thoughts. Each dawn he swept leaves from the stone path, and each dusk he listened to the old bell, deep and round, folding the day into evening. At first, nights were gentle. The elders' voices, the steam from rice bowls, the soft laughter of brothers, these sounds made a nest where Lin's heart could rest. But a season turned, and the winds began to travel from the mountains, carrying long sighs and hollow rustles through the bamboo. When lanterns went out, darkness gathered like a secret. Lin didn't like secrets. One evening, the abbot handed him a clay lantern. "Place it at the eastern corridor," he said, "and let it watch through the night." The flame burned steady, a copper bloom inside glass. Lin felt safe. He thought, if the light stays, the night can't come in. From that evening on, Lin made the lantern his guardian. He cleaned the glass. He trimmed the wick. He fed it oil with the tenderness a gardener gives a thirsty plant. The little flame nodded at him as if it understood. Then came the longest night of the year. Clouds laid their heavy backs against the moon. Wind curled along the corridors, testing doors and whispers. Even the old bell sounded thinner. Lin felt a familiar pinch in his chest, the kind that worries itself into a knot. He cupped the lantern in both hands and prayed silently. "Please stay. Please stay. Please stay." Near midnight, a draft slipped under the door like a fox. The flame trembled, bent, and almost went out. Lin gasped, dropping to his knees. He blocked the wind with his sleeves. He checked the oil, shook the lantern, coaxed the wick. The flame returned, small as a kindness. He promised himself he would not sleep. He would keep the lantern awake with him, shoulder to shoulder against the dark. But the night grew deeper, and the wind grew clever. It found cracks Lin hadn't known, corners he hadn't seen, ways to reach the flame that made his hands clumsy with panic. He thought of the stories his mother once told of spirits roaming after midnight, of shadows that stole names. He told himself he no longer believed such things. But belief is not always the master of the heart. Sometimes fear is. The flame shrank again. Lin's breath quickened. He fed it more oil. The lantern brightened, then smoked, as if protesting his urgency. "Why won't you stay?" Lin whispered. "What am I doing wrong?" A soft footfall answered him. The abbot stood in the doorway, robed like a quiet wave. He said nothing at first, only watched the lantern with Lin. The flame breathed, wavered, then steadied as if embarrassed to misbehave. "Master," Lin murmured, shame creeping into his voice. "I'm trying to keep the darkness away." The abbot knelt beside him. "Is that so?" Lin nodded. "If the lantern goes out, the night will swallow the corridor. And then, I don't know what will come." The abbot listened to the wind traveling the eaves, to the bamboo clicking their patient fingers. Then he turned to Lin. "Little one," he said, Darkness is not a creature to fight. It is only the other half of light, Lin frowned. But if we let the lantern go out, then morning will light the world without asking our permission, the abbot said gently. You are feeding this flame from fear, not from care. Fear is a clumsy keeper. Lin's eyes fell to the smoky glass. I don't know how to be brave. The abbot smiled in a way that lifted the weight in the air. Bravery isn't about making night shorter, he said. It's about letting them be night and still breathing. He reached into his sleeve and drew out a small hand mirror, old and scratched along the silver. He placed it beside the lantern. The flame doubled, reflected softly on the metal. When the wind leans in, the abbot said, lean with it. When the flame grows small, grow still. Watch its center. It knows how to be fire better than you do. Lin swallowed. The wind tested the door again. Instinct urged him to shield the flame, to fuss, to panic. Instead, he did as he was told. He grew still. He watched the tiny light. He watched the way it bent and then returned to itself, as if remembering. Minutes passed, then more. The night did not shorten, but it also did not bite. Lin felt his breath soften. He had been breathing like a frightened bird. Now he was breathing like a boy beside a small, faithful star. The abbot closed his eyes and rested his hands on his knees. Do you hear it? Hear what? The lantern's lesson. Lin listened. At first he heard only wind and bamboo. Then he heard something else, the steady hush between the gusts, the quiet room at the center of himself where the wind could not enter. Toward morning, the clouds loosened. A gray softness entered the corridor. Lin realized he had not fought the night. He had witnessed it. He had not forced the lantern to burn. He had allowed it to. He rose, stretched his cramped legs, and looked at the abbot. The old man's eyes were bright in the half-light. Master, Lin said, wonder surprising his voice. It didn't go out. The abbot nodded toward the window, where the first thread of dawn stitched the sky. Lanterns are for the dark, he said. But the dark is also for lanterns. One teaches the other how to be itself. Lin lifted the lantern and carried it to the door outside. The courtyard weighted stones jeweled with dew, bamboo standing like green prayers. He set the lantern on the step and watched as the world slowly turned from charcoal to silver to gold. The flame, no longer needed, seemed to bow. He did not feel the urge to clutch it. He did not feel the old knot in his chest tightening for a reason to worry. Instead, he felt a small, clean space opening inside, a room with a window, a chair, and the patience of morning. The bell sounded, fuller now. Monks began to stir. Lin trimmed the wick one last time and gently blew. The flame folded, like a soft sheet pulled over a sleeping child. Smoke curled up, then vanished into the light. He did not feel loss. He felt a quiet completion, as if the lantern had finished reading a chapter to the night. Later, when the abbot passed by, Lin bowed. "Thank you for showing me," he said. The abbot shook his head. "I only dimmed the noise," he replied. "You listened. We spend so much of our lives fearing the dark, pushing, guarding, feeding small flames with our panic. forgetting that dawn has never needed our permission. The lantern that wouldn't go out did not survive because someone strangled the wind. It survived because someone learned to be still. When fear tells you to fight the darkness, light a quieter lamp, your mindful breath. Do not war with the night. Attend to the flame. Dawn will come.